No DQ Galaxy. We are live with a recap of AEW Dynamite for Wednesday, April 3rd, 2024. This is night 4 of 13 straight nights of live streaming here on the No DQ YouTube channel. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and please spread the word. Tell a friend about the No DQ channel. Now, let's get to Dynamite. We do have the AEW Dynasty pay-per-view event coming up in just a couple of weeks. Adam Copeland, the Rated R superstar, the TNT champion, came to the ring without his title. He cut a promo. He said he wanted to talk to everyone as Adam Copeland. He said that there has been a lot of negative BS being spread this week. Gee, I wonder what he's talking about. He said he wants to focus on the positives. He said it's a great time to be a wrestling fan. He said he watched the WWF, NWA, Stampede, and so forth. He called out a fan for booing WWF when he mentioned it, although it felt like people really did not boo WWF when he said it. I feel like he was planning to acknowledge boos when there really were not that many boos, at least from what I could hear. Anyways, Copeland said that AEW is the place where he wants to end his wrestling career. He praised all the talent in AEW. He listed a bunch of guys that he can have a first time ever match against. He said it's the most fun he's having in wrestling. The crowd chanted AEW. He said he wanted to celebrate the people that made AEW. People like the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, Cody Rhodes, and Tony Khan. Copeland said that AEW has pushed everyone to a better place, and that can be celebrated. He said that AEW makes pro wrestling better, and AEW is where the best wrestle. He said there's a reason why Will Ospreay, Okada, Mercedes Moné, and himself all came to AEW. He then introduced Will Ospreay. Copeland had his TNT title at this point. They shook hands, and that led to our first match, which was Will Ospreay versus Powerhouse Hobbs. As Steve-O and Andrew and others mentioned, this Copeland promo was basically stand up for AEW. To me, it was very clearly a response to CM Punk's interview with Ariel Helwani on the MMA Hour earlier this week. Punk, of course, was very critical of AEW. He did wish the people in AEW well, but he did have a lot of negative things to say, talking about how AEW is not a business. Tony Khan is a nice guy, but he's not a boss. And here we have Adam Copeland coming to the defense of AEW, which I don't know if this was really necessary or not. Maybe they just wanted to go out there and do the rah-rah speech and get people hyped up for AEW. Was Adam Copeland the best choice, though? Like, he's a WWE guy. He came to AEW to finish his career, but he spent decades in WWE. Would this have been a good time for MJF to return and do the speech? Or Eddie Kingston? Eddie Kingston is a loyal AEW soldier, or a Jon Moxley. Like, there are any number of guys that I think could have done this promo, and it might have had a little bit more of an impact instead of Adam Copeland, the former WWE guy, saying this promo. Anyways, I thought the promo was fine, but I don't know if it was absolutely necessary to do this. I mean, it basically comes off to me like they got triggered by the CM Punk interview and they had to respond to it. I would have, quite frankly, just ignored it. But now they've basically acknowledged it, that they've gotten rattled by it and they had to go out there and cut this promo. So we had Will Ospreay versus Will Hobbs, Battle of the Wills, with Don Callis on commentary. Even though he's been acting like a babyface, for some reason, Will Ospreay is still part of the Don Callis family. Hobbs was dominating early on. Ospreay tried to target the leg, did not get very far. They fought on the outside. Hobbs ended up suplexing Ospreay on the steel steps and then gave him a fallaway slam onto the announce table. After the commercial break, Ospreay started to fight back. They traded some chops. Ospreay tried to chop Hobbs, and Hobbs barely flinched. Ospreay slapped Hobbs, and that just pissed off Hobbs. Hobbs continued his dominance. Crowd started to chant, "This is awesome." And then Hobbs delivered an avalanche power slam. Of course, Ospreay kicked out. Ospreay then recovered, came off the top with the Sky Twister, and then finished off Hobbs with the Hidden Blade. As Matthew pointed out, predictable match. I mean, again, Ospreay's not losing going into the pay-per-view. I don't think he's losing at the pay-per-view either. Hobbs had a decent showing, though. I mean, Hobbs got in a good amount of offense. But yeah, he was not beating Will Ospreay here. After the match, Hobbs was upset. Don Callis tried to calm things down, and Ospreay left. Danielson came out, had a little run-in with Ospreay on the ramp. And then we had our next match, which was Bryan Danielson versus Lance Archer. Pretty much the same match as the previous one, where you had the monster, the big guy, the meaty guy, going up against the guy that the company is actually pushing. So Archer went right after Bryan, and Archer was dominating, much like Hobbs was dominating. He choke slammed Bryan on the apron and then took one of the crew members and slammed the crew member onto Bryan. Yes, basically the Murder Hawk jobber. By the way, Matthew is going to be making his No DQ video debut for Night 2 predictions. Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. I guess I'll plug it right now real quick. For those of you watching, you see the schedule, 13 straight days of live streaming. Next up is the WrestleMania Sunday Night 2 predictions, and Matthew will be joining us making his No DQ video debut. And Steve-O is going to be with us. Steve-O's in the chat room as well. Back to the match here. Bryan eventually made his comeback, and it was back and forth a little bit. Bryan applied the crossface. Archer got his foot on the rope, and then Archer tried to hit the blackout, but Bryan was able to counter it with a sleeper. Bryan hit a running knee, 3 roundhouse kicks, and then another running knee to pick up the victory over, I guess, a very game Lance Archer. But, you know, basically it was a showcase match for Bryan, just like Will Ospreay's match was a showcase match for Will Ospreay. Did it really advance the storyline much? I mean, not really. You announce Will Ospreay and Bryan Danielson, you really don't need much of a build-up because it's just the two guys are going to have a great match type of deal. But there's not really any kind of conflict. It was just, okay, Ospreay's going to go out there, show off his stuff, beat the big guy. Bryan's going to go out there, show off his stuff, beat the big guy. You know, pretty standard run-of-the-mill television as far as I'm concerned. But the matches were solid. I think the Hobbs match was maybe a little bit better, and Hobbs had a little bit more offense, I think, than Archer. But both matches were competitive, even though the results of both were quite obvious. And then we had Lionheart Chris Jericho interviewed by Renee Paquette on the stage. I'm not sure why Jericho's doing the Lionheart gimmick. Like, I thought it was initially done because he was facing one of the Japanese wrestlers, and it was supposed to be a callback to his pre-WCW days. But why is he still doing Lionheart? Somebody who's been following AEW every show and following all this stuff really closely, tell me why Jericho is doing the Lionheart gimmick still. Like, I'm confused. Does anybody really care about Lionheart Chris Jericho? I mean, does anybody really care about Chris Jericho at this stage of the game? So he's out there with Hook, and he wanted to clarify some stuff. He said that he wants Hook to believe in him, and Hook said that he does believe in Jericho. He got them a match for Collision, which is not airing at its normal time because we have WrestleMania and there's also sports competition. So they're bumping it to like 11:30 Eastern. Nobody's going to be watching that show. So there you go. Hook and Jericho will be teaming up, and they will be facing, drum roll please everybody, here we go. They're going to be facing Shane Taylor and Lee Moriarty. Yeah. Exciting. This is going to be a main event match in any arena in the country. Shane Taylor and Lee Moriarty against Jericho, Hook, or whatever the hell their name is. Whatever. I mean, nobody's watching the show anyways, so you might as well just do a throwaway match. It's complete throwaway match. And where is this going anyways? Is Jericho going to turn on Hook? I mean, Hook is already saying he's got his eye on Jericho. Like, where is this going? Is Jericho going to be his manager? Like, what are they doing here? Like, Jericho has done this with so many guys now. Like, it doesn't mean anything anymore. Next up, we had Billy Gunn. Okay, here we go. I mean, this, I worry that when I criticize AEW, that I will get a lot of hate. I think this segment, most people will actually agree with me on this. I think I'm safe. I think I'm in the majority with this one. Okay, so we had Jay White coming out for a match with Billy Gunn. Why are we even doing this match in the first place? I mean, they're feuding right now. The Bullet Club Gold feuding with the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn. The Guns are against their dad again. So anyways, Jay White making his entrance. He got jumped by Billy Gunn. And then for like 10 minutes straight with like a few moments of offense, Billy Gunn was just beating the crap out of Jay White, just making him his bitch. Jay White occasionally got a move, and he got like 2 moves in. But Billy Gunn, talking about 2 old WWE veterans here, Billy Gunn was just beating the hell out of Jay White seemingly forever. And then eventually we had the Acclaimed on the big screen. Somebody laid them out on the big screen. And I thought, okay, this is the distraction finish. Jay White's going to win. And that's that. He beats Billy Gunn. Billy Gunn had a great showing against Jay White, a guy half his age. But in the end, Jay White, the heel, got the win over Billy Gunn with the old shady tactic. But no, it was not the end of the match. In fact, Billy Gunn recovered. He hit one Fameasser, and then he hit a second Fameasser, and then he grabbed the steel chair. Austin and Colton Gunn ran down to the ring, pleaded for mercy. Billy Gunn was not having any of it. And then Jay White low-blowed Billy Gunn. causing a disqualification. So Jay White lost to the 60-year-old Billy Gunn on Dynamite. And then after the match, the Acclaimed ran down to make the save. They tried to suplex Jay White through the table, but the Guns pulled him to safety, and they escaped through the crowd. Wow. I mean, Jay White is like, he's Austin Theory territory at this point. He's like a guy that people were saying, this guy's going to be the next big thing. He's going to be the next top star. And now he's just a punching bag. I mean, that's what Austin Theory became on SmackDown. And that's what Jay White is. Like, his stock has just plummeted. Like, he was never really the same after Full Gear. Like, he got that world title match, and he lost to MJF when MJF was a mess. You know, MJF was hurt. Basically, he was, what was it? One working leg, like he could barely move, and he somehow beat Jay White. And it's just been all downhill for Jay White. They turned him face with the Acclaimed, and then they turned him heel, and now he's getting beat up by Billy Gunn for like 10 minutes on Dynamite. So yeah, we got a trios match, and I just don't care about it at this point. Like, the Acclaimed, unfortunately for them, they have also passed their peak. You know, for a while, they were pretty hot. I was at the Dynamite in May of 2023, and the crowd was loving the Acclaimed. There were tons of signs for them, but they're kind of cold now. Like, their stock has also plummeted. 9:15 segment. Guess who was out there? The women. They did an interview with Renee Paquette on the stage. It was Willow Nightingale with Chris Statlander, and they did something different here. They had the wrestlers with their backs turned to the crowd. So the interview was shot on the stage, and the camera was pointing out towards the crowd, and the wrestlers were cutting the promo with the crowd behind them. It's a different camera angle. And I mean, I think we saw stuff like this years ago, like decades ago in the WWF. It's been a while. Interesting choice of a camera shot. So they're cutting a promo here. Willow said she's feeling mother fluffing great. And she praised the crowd, you know, said she's going to be the smiling face of TBS. And then Mercedes Moné come out there. Speaking of people that have stock plummeting by the week, it's Mercedes Moné. I mean, her strong suit is wrestling, not talking. And she came out there, she talked more. She did keep it short. She basically said, you know, the TBS title match, Julia Hart versus Willow Nightingale, is at Dynasty. And Mercedes wants the winner of that at Double or Nothing in Vegas. She said in Vegas, Moné changes everything. They're really waiting to get Mercedes back in the ring. I figured for sure she would be wrestling at Dynasty. Now, is she still injured and they're just trying to delay things? They wanted to have her debut in Boston, but she's not actually ready to go. I mean, that could be the case here, but she needs to put her money or her Moné where her mouth is. She needs to get in the ring, because every week now it feels like her stock is dropping a little bit. And yeah, the AEW rankings, I mean, they don't mean anything. I don't even know why Tony Khan brought it back, quite frankly. But Mercedes is legitimately the biggest female star. I don't think too many people are going to deny that. And it's not like it's the main title either. It's the TBS title that she's going for. So, I mean, whatever. If she wants to go for the title, let her go for the title. Remember, Brock Lesnar came into the UFC and got a world title match like right off the bat. So, I mean, that stuff never really bothered me. I just feel like she's got to get in the ring and start wrestling, or people are just going to lose interest. And I think they already are. Next up, we had the Young Bucks versus the Best Friends in another tag team tournament match. And I mean, this one's obvious. It's going to be Bucks and FTR at Dynasty. I mean, that was what I determined when they announced the tournament, looking at the brackets. But anyways, solid match here, back and forth. You had Sue out there, Trent's mom, and at one point, Matt Jackson almost super kicked her and she slapped him, although it was a very weak slap. And then we had a couple near falls, strong 0 to Matthew, but Nicholas made the save. And then Sue gave Trent a kiss, which I guess was like Popeye eating the spinach. He got fired up, but unfortunately for him, the Bucks exposed a turnbuckle and he got knocked into it. Trent got knocked into the turnbuckle that was exposed, and then Matthew rolled him up, held the tights, and got the 1-2-3 victory. Now, after the match, the Best Friends were like, we'll live to fight another day. They went for the big hug, but then the swerve. Trent turned against Orange Cassidy, attacked him. Chuck Taylor was shocked. Trent's mom, Sue, was shocked. Looks like we got a heel turn. Looks like we finally have a split of the Best Friends. I mean, I don't know if this is going to go anywhere or not. I mean, maybe it needed to be done. They've done this Best Friends gimmick now for 5 years, and it was probably time to change things up. But I don't know, man. I don't know if Trent is really going to make much of a difference. I feel like he's going to get lost in the shuffle. Like, I feel like he's going to be wrestling on Rampage for the most part, and it's not really going to benefit him. Like, at least when they were a group, they can go out there and sometimes do the tag matches on Dynamite. Trent and Chuck could ride the coattails of Orange Cassidy. I don't know. I'm not sure where things are going to go with him. And it also seems like a very random turn also. Like, I don't know if there was other stuff that I missed that was leading up to it, but it just feels like out of nowhere. I guess he was just frustrated that they lost, but they lose a lot. So why all of a sudden is he frustrated? I don't know. Next up, we had Thunder Rosa versus Mariah May. Tony Storm on commentary. Basically a showcase match for Thunder Rosa. It was back and forth. Mariah did get in some offense. They traded some shots. Mariah hit a knee strike. Thunder Rosa kicked out. Rosa countered the Mayday and picked up the 1-2-3 victory. It was a solid TV match. Thunder Rosa now will get the match with Tony Storm for the women's title at Dynasty. It was pretty standard. Not much to say about it. And then we closed the show with my favorite segment, everybody, the contract signing, which, in my opinion, the most overdone segment next to the pull-apart brawls. So we have the contract signing. Swerve was in there, and Joe sat down. Joe said that Swerve is making a career-defining mistake, and he's going to leave Swerve mentally scarred as if Swerve left Diddy's party too late. A reference to rapper Diddy, who is in some hot water right now. And Swerve responded by saying he's waited for this moment all of his life. Oh, Lord. He's getting his championship opportunity. He's been waiting for it. And he said that they're building a dynasty in AEW. And as he was talking about this dynasty, the crowd started chanting for MJF. I miss the guy too. I don't blame them for chanting MJF. And MJF resurfaced on Twitter responding to The Rock. That got a lot of people talking today. I hope we get to see him back on TV soon. I definitely miss the guy. He's very much missed in AEW. And we got the post-match angle here, or not post-match, just post-segment angle, where they got into a fight. Joe took Swerve's chain, hit him repeatedly with it. Swerve was bleeding, and then Joe left. Swerve started laughing, and Swerve took the pen, rubbed it against his forehead, which was bloodied up, signed the contract with his own blood, and the crowd was chanting, "You sick F." Joe came back to the ring, and he put Swerve through the table with a Uranagi. That table had a family, damn it. I haven't said that in a while. That used to be the go-to angle in every WWE contract signing, where they would put somebody through the table, and I'd always be like, that table had a family, damn it. Joe held up the title over Swerve's body, and Dynamite went off the air. I mean, we don't see these types of segments often in AEW, but it's been done so much that I'm kind of just numb to it. It was a good angle, though. It was pretty well executed. The rest of the show was just okay. Another not so great Dynamite. Again, I don't think it was bad. The wrestling was pretty good. But much of what was an issue with last week's show, predictable matches, not a whole lot of storyline advancement, nothing that really felt like must-see TV. Another show that I felt was largely skippable. Maybe the last segment, the angle was pretty solid, but not too much else that I thought was particularly exciting or noteworthy. The Adam Copeland promo was what it was. I give the show a C+. I thought it was all right. Not bad, but I definitely feel like Dynamite has cooled off a bit. You know, they had a couple hot weeks with the Boston show and then the Toronto show, but last 2 weeks it's kind of just felt like average television, average wrestling show, not Dynamite. It doesn't live up to the name Dynamite. I'm expecting more, especially when we've seen some really great Dynamites over the years. These last couple episodes have just not been really cutting it for me. But you know what? Maybe their attitude is it's WrestleMania season. We're going to lay low for a little bit. And then when we get close to Dynasty, we're going to turn up the volume. I hope that's the case. I hope MJF comes back soon. Okada wasn't even on this show. And Ospreay, he's doing good. He's maybe the best part of Dynamite right now, but it's lacking. It's definitely lacking. So anyways, that's all I got for tonight. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the stream. And again, if you did, please give it a thumbs up and spread the word about NoDQ.com. We got more streams coming up. WrestleMania predictions, SmackDown, Hall of Fame, Stand and Deliver, WrestleMania Night 1, Night 2, Raw, No DQ review, another Dynamite, No DQ&A video coming back next week. Lots of stuff for you guys. Make sure you subscribe at NoDQ.com/YouTube. Say yes to No DQ. Buy a shirt at NoDQ.com/merch. And I will see you all next time.